Tonight, we crown a brand new champion. We've had a total of 16 races this season. 45 drivers have shown up to race at some point during this time. But tonight, it has all been set up for 4 drivers to go on for their chance to win their first championship in the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series. Chicagoland is the final destination, and the goal, be the highest finisher of your other competitors. And the drivers that are racing for the gold for the championship, we start things off with Brian Johnson, who's got the most wins for the second season in a row, trying to get that championship that he thought he should have grabbed last season. The other one to watch out for, the young gun, but you could technically call him the veteran of the NAISCC Cup Series. He's been here since season 1, but he's looking to finally grab that championship that's been looming over that of Vincent Sora. Then we also find Nick Crawford, the must-win driver from last week, found himself in victory lane at Talladega, and now is hoping to win the first race of the season and the last to grab himself a championship. The biggest underdog coming into tonight, going to be Zach Hall coming in at 4th. He came in with consistency once again for the second season in a row. First in top 5s of all drivers. He's hoping that consistency is going to get him a championship, but it might have to be his win, which would be his second of the season. We're excited to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It is the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series for the Track Racer NAISCC Championship race at Chicagoland. And before we get to more racing action, big thanks to Track Racer Refined Gaming. If you're going to be getting yourself started with the racing setup or finishing your racing rig, Track Racer is one of the best places to go. They've got monitors, they've got steering wheels, they've got it all to make sure that your sim setup is the best that it can be. Track Racer Refined Gaming. And as well, want to give a big thanks to that of the Simbox store. You really push our buttons. If you're trying to get yourself a Simbox to enhance your gaming system, the Simbox store is where to go. It's cheap, affordable, and it also is handcrafted, one of the best qualities that you can go get. And you can go get yourself a Simbox from Simbox store from that of eBay, Facebook, and also on their website at www.simboxstore.com. The Simbox store, you really push our buttons. Tonight on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we conclude Season 4 of the NAISCC Cup Series, and we are so proud to be giving it the action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is going to be Tom Bourne up at the booth, and as well, Robert Moyer running the productions here tonight. Tom, Chicagoland, not a usual place to have a championship race, but the lights are on. It's time to see who's going to grab the gold here tonight.
Yeah, Sam, it's going to be a fun race to watch. Multi-groove racing tonight. You're going to be able to get really all 3 grooves going. Guys to watch out for, you mentioned it, Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, top of the board in practice, 1-2. I wouldn't be surprised if they qualify there, as it looks like we have the qualifying started, actually. And I wouldn't be surprised. Lots of fast laps right around the bottom. See what happens.
Yeah, drivers are now hitting qualifying. We have the one of Kyle Rochelle, a non-championship contender here tonight, but certainly a driver that's got some speed and trying to capitalize here tonight, as the one coming out of turn number 2, hoping not to brush the wall. But Tom, Chicagoland, it's a mile and a half in length. Robert and I were covering these drivers that at Kansas in the middle of the round of 16 just a few weeks ago. We said that Kansas, Chicagoland, they're pretty similar, but from your perspective as a driver that has ran here on iRacing many a times and also has ran in this Gen 6 car, what track would you say is the most similar to Chicagoland that might give us a brief picture of what drivers to watch out for?
Honestly, Chicagoland is similar to a lot of the mile and a halves on the schedule, like a Las Vegas, like a Kansas, but it's different as well. You're still going to get those multiple grooves in 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, but the thing you got to worry about is that wall sneaking up on you out of the corner, whether you run the high line, the low line, the middle line. And the other thing about Chicagoland that makes it a little different is the backstretch being curved a little bit. It could really mess up your entry if you don't hit that right. But ultimately, you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. Kansas, pretty much similar to this. I'd probably even go with a Vegas too, just because the banking wise, but
Hey, we're picking one of those two tracks. It certainly is going to be something to watch out for. We think of Kansas, that was just ran a few weeks ago, dominated by the 28 of Brian Johnson. We think of Las Vegas, it was snuck away by Nick Crawford that found the extra speed. But we look at some of the previous champions here in the NAISCC Cup Series. Last season, Season 3 champion Cedric Hunter just missed out, was actually looking to be pointing his way in to the Final Four to try to defend his championship. But because of Nick Crawford winning, bumped out the 13 Hello Kitty machine, and now just looking for a good run here tonight. So Tom, Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, just based off those tracks that you threw out, they're going to be the main ones for us to watch out for, but there's certainly some other speed there. Vincent Soares found pace at that of Homestead and was able to find victory. That was actually his first win that broke almost a full year drought of finding victory lane here in the NAISCC Cup Series. So we'll see if the 15 can find a little bit of extra juice, but it's Zach Hall that I'm the most concerned about as we see that of James Loveland on screen. The 32 hasn't found a lot of wins this season, only one, and it was all the way back during that of race number 3 of the season at Auto Club, which kind of was a oddball race where drivers were really being tested by the aero package, and it was this 32 that found himself in victory lane at the end of the day. Here tonight, aero package also going to be something to watch out for. So we've got ourselves less than a minute and a half to go in qualifying. This is it, a championship race. What pressures are you imagining these drivers are feeling here tonight?
Well, throughout, I've been in this situation before, and I know from personal experiences that you got to focus on your race. You can't worry about where other people are running. You can't worry about who's in front of you, the point standings. The points are reset. So whoever finishes the highest out of all 4 drivers that are in the Final Four is going to win this championship. They don't have to win. No stage points are on the line. Everybody's on a clean slate. It's whoever finishes the highest will win. Ultimately, they got to focus. They got to make sure they keep momentum throughout the entire race. And the draft is going to be big. With these cars at 1.5 mile tracks, draft will either help you a lot or hurt you, especially on the worn tires.
And that's going to be something to watch out for. The driver's going to have 4 sets of extra tires to work with in pit road. And also there's going to be no fast repair. There is going to be still a stage break here tonight on lap 70. So there's still some similarities from how the rest of this season has been. But it's going to be 150 laps here at Chicagoland. Qualifying is done. And it's time to see who is where, setting the stage here tonight. As we, again, the 4 drivers to watch out for, they're going to be the 4 drivers topping the board here tonight. Vincent Soares taking the pole position with Brian Johnson to his outside. Nick Crawford going to be in 3rd place with Zach Hall in 4th. Kyle Rochelle's going to be in 5th place, a driver to watch out for with Champ, Season 1 and Season 2 champion. That of Tom Sinchek is going to be in 6th place. In 7th, we find Aaron Kralik, one of the drivers that was in the final 8, not able to make it to the final 4, but looking for a strong run for the 0-1. You also got Sean Hudstutler in 8th place with Danny Cochran in 9th. 10th finds that of Cedric Hunter, our Season 3 champion who showed to us the last season. You can find yourself spinning and falling from the lead to last place on the first lap, and you still have a chance to win at the end of the day. So watch out for some of these drivers that might have an off start to the race. Doesn't mean their championship is over. With Thomas Walter in 11th place, that of Martin Morales in 12th, Dakota Moniz in 13th, James Tremmel going to be in 14th, James Loveland in 15th, with Maurice Gilmillion in 16th, a driver we have not seen since all the way back at Dover for week number 6. It's Thomas Green going to be back racing here in the 31, and finishing it out, it's going to be that of Adam Westfield, our 18 drivers racing here tonight. Tom, drivers are getting set. They're getting a little bit of the last briefing before we take off. 150 laps, but stage is at lap 70. What are you expecting for this first stage?
I think everybody's just going to try and figure out where everybody else is running. Clean air is going to be a big deal. Dirty air, you don't want to be in dirty air at these 1.5 miles. So you're going to see these cars spreading out a lot, just trying to get nose to the front end to help them turn. Honestly, it's going to be probably a 1 pit stop before this stage break. These cars can go about 48 to 51 laps on a tank of gas. Like you said, stage break on lap 70. Wouldn't be surprised they come down, get 4 tires, and go to the stage and then take 4 tires again. But, that's if it goes green. We'll see if it can go green till the stage break, but it's gonna be iffy.
Going to be something to watch out for sure. And as well as the drivers are heading the backstretch, want to take a look at the weather here tonight. It's nighttime, not expecting a lot of change. Well, this is what the driver is going to be dealing with here tonight. Ambient temperature is going to be 84 degrees outside, with it being clear. Track temp's going to be 85 degrees though, so on the medium good side, but there is a wind at that of 9 miles per hour. So the driver's got a little bit of a breeze to work with here, Tom, but it's cool, it's looking nice. What are some of your final thoughts before we get to green flag racing?
Ultimately, it's going to be able to, it's going to be whoever is able to keep the car out of the wall once the long run goes. Whoever's able to save the amount of tires and try and keep the most speed throughout the race.
Well, we are prepared for championship racing. It is the Track Racer NAISCC Cup Series Championship race at Chicagoland. Your 4 drivers to watch out for, they're going to be your top 4. Vincent Sora, Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, and Zach Hall. All you got to do is finish ahead of those other drivers and you win a championship. And we are green here for the first lap of the 150, as it's going to be side by side. Vincent Sora, Brian Johnson take us through 1 and 2. And right now, it's going to be Vinny on the inside looking strong. But Tom, that outer groove out of turn 2. Here comes Brian Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson's going to get the run off turn 2. He should be able to sail it down into turn 3. Actually clears Vincent Sora before going down to turn 3. And caution's already out.
Backstretch, issue, strike, but up front, the driver trying to cool off as the yellow flag waves, not even able to get through that of lap number 1 without our first yellow striking here tonight. As Vincent Sora, Brian Johnson, they were flying up there, but it's Brian Johnson that has the lead of the timing of the yellow. As it looks like the caution going to be striking back where that was a Martin Morales. As we take an instant replay of what brought out this yellow, you're going to see this is the aftermath of Thomas Green coming into this incident. But Tom, it was a big one of drivers just misjudging where they were really in front of one another.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I mentioned the curved back straightaway pre-race, and I think that's what bit Martin. He just got in the wall down the straightaway, and the 20 had no place to go, and the 31 just tried to avoid and just got clipped by the 20 in the outside wall.
Going to be another look at this incident. See the 24 brushing the wall here. James Tremmel gets shoved into the wall, pinched, gets a little airborne there. A lot more contact going to be involved. You see the 24 sliding down. Here comes Green in the late and gets clipped by that of James Tremmel, gets spun around. And then you see the 88 of Adam Westfield just able to sneak on by before even more contact was in. And drivers further back finding issues with one another. And just that curved banking, like you said, on the backstretch, it's not completely straight. It can fool these drivers, and it looks like it did for the 24 of Martin Morales. Bringing out our first yellow again here tonight. But up front, our championship 4, still in top 4 position. But I think, if anything, Tom, this helps these drivers get a little bit of their nerves that they might have been feeling calm down after this first yellow.
Yeah, it's definitely a calming moment, after, we only ran half a lap. The nerves aren't really going to calm down that much. I think the top 4 are going to be, their nerves are going to be high all night long. When you're racing for a championship, you got to kind of put those nerves aside, but they will creep up on you, and that could cause mistakes throughout the race.
It really can, as looking at some of the drivers, looks like all were able to get most of their repairs done. Martin Morales, James Tremmel, and Thomas Green all came into pit road to get service done. Morales and Tremmel able to get back out on track, as Green is still in pit road getting service done. Chicagoland, 1.5 miles in length, and we've been talking about that a lot because 3 of our final 4 that are racing for a championship have won at a 1.5 mile course. Nick Crawford won at Las Vegas, Vincent Sora won at Homestead, and also the most recent 1.5 mile victor, Brian Johnson, winning at Kansas. That was his 5th win of the season. Most of everyone out here as we're stacking up, getting ready to go green. Tom, for Zach Hall, who has not won at a 1.5 miles, but has finished, really has been second fiddle for most of this season, it's got to be frustrating for that 32 team, knowing that he's been fast, he's been in positions to potentially win, but it's been second place so many times here this season.
But you know what, Sam? It might, throughout the season, it couldn't get frustrating, yeah. But if he pulls that off tonight, he has a good chance of winning that championship. He's just got to make sure that the other 3 drivers don't win the race. And if he finishes second, that's a championship for him.
Second place, you wonder how many times Zach Hall's finished second? 5 times this season he has finished second place. And at all one of those tracks, he's followed behind Brian Johnson, who is ahead of him currently. Taking the lead position is going to be Brian Johnson, who made the pass before the yellow came out. And now we wait to go green once again. Let's try another lap here at Chicagoland. Pace car is off, and we are green once again for the Track Racer NAISCC Championship race here at Chicagoland. And it's Brian Johnson with the best launch for himself, able to clear out. It's side by side for second as they go through 1 and 2.
Yeah, Brian Johnson really got a great run on the start right there, but the draft, it's going to suck him right back to the pack. As you see Vincent Sora getting that run off turn 2, just like Brian Johnson did. Tries to cross over, gives Brian a little bump going down to 3, letting him know he's there. And looks like they're about to go single file coming off turn 4.
Single file for a front 5, side by side for 6th, where those drivers going to be. Before the lead, here comes Vincent Sora, coming with a head of steam, trying to pick it high, low, find any type of clean air possible. And Tom, I was hearing from some of these drivers, from Zach Hall, he was noting on this racetrack about how it's going to be practically full throttle at most times during this course. And that's going to be a thing for these drivers. It's going to be slightly frustrating knowing that everyone's full throttle, that it doesn't feel like there's a lot more skill involved just riding on board with that 32 machine. In the dirty air, you're loving it on the straightaways, but in the corners, I'd imagine you're not a fan of following behind another driver.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Basically, when you're in dirty air, it takes the air off the front of the car. When you have air on the front of the car, it's going to help it turn. It helps it slow down a little bit in the corners, helps it rotate. When you don't have that, the car just wants to shoot straight up to the wall. And you can see Zach Hall moving to that middle line, trying to not get behind that 15 machine of Vincent Sora, so he can actually turn the car. And Sam, you mentioned it just a minute ago, full throttle, right? For the first, I want to say 15 to 25 laps, yeah, that's basically going to be it. But as these tires wear, they're going to be starting to search for grip. Cars could start sliding, and you're going to have to start feathering the throttle going down to the corner to really help that car settle down to make it rotate.
A driver that's trying to make the move, currently one of our biggest movers up in the top 10. It's going to be the 0-1 of Eric Kralik, up 2 positions, getting aggressive here on the outside. And already hearing over the radio, drivers that are in the Championship 4 not wanting to get too antsy with the drivers around, but Nick Crawford almost absolutely swamped as he's got a gaggle of cars behind him, trying to get by the 11.
And going down the backstretch, it looks like everybody's starting to sort it out a little bit. You know, it's still really early to be making those big moves, as you see. Sean Huffstutler trying to send it in underneath Tom Sinchek. Couldn't get it done there. Is Kyle Rochelle. He's trying to take advantage of that, taking it to the outside. Sam, you're going to see this a lot. All right, you're going to see a lot of guys really send it in underneath people and basically just trying to get as much momentum as possible. Same thing you're going to see a lot of this race, guys using the apron on the front stretch. It cuts off about, I want to say, a tenth or so, and it could really break the draft and give you an advantage.
With coming down on the apron, there is that slight transition that can unsettle these cars if you're not prepared for it. Do you feel like that's going to be something that maybe forces these drivers not want to go down the apron as often as I think that we would think of the booth, that you would want to cut down that speed as much as possible?
Well, in these types of cars, they are a lot different than the next-gen cars. I've done multiple races in the next-gen cars, 1.5 miles, where we can cut down to the apron, and it doesn't like it. These cars are set up more to where they can go down to the apron. You know, especially here at Chicagoland, the apron isn't really that far off from the banking. The banking down the front stretch is not as big as like a Kansas or Las Vegas, where they can use the apron. The transition actually isn't that bad, and they should be able to be fine with it.
That's what they're hoping for in this group. We've been watching on screen side by side, and finally, in front of the 1 of Kyle Rochelle, it's the 0-1 of Eric Kralik, able to make the pass over Nick Crawford, pushing the 11 back to 5th place. That's not where Nick Crawford wants to be, losing ground. He wants to make sure he still sees the sights of the 3 other competitors in front of him. And right now, we're going to be on lap 13 and getting back on track. It's going to be James Trumbull that had to come back onto pit road to get service done. Another driver that had to do so was that of Thomas Green. Both drivers involved with our first yellow of the day. As Zach Hall now also going to be losing some ground. Aaron Kralich's on the move as this group, Tom Senchak, champ, he is going the wrong direction. He's going backwards back to 9.
Yeah, he's been going the wrong way. He hasn't really ventured off that bottom line, and, like I said, that dirty air is really going to hurt him. Got to check up a lot, lose a lot of momentum. Something I've been watching a lot, these new tires. Aaron Kralik is making that middle line work. He's getting that run off the corner. He's actually about to make the pass for second place over Vincent Sora. Clears him going down into turn number 3, and you can see this outside lane really coming in, and they're just able to carry the momentum off as you see Zach Hall did the same thing Aaron Kralik did, made a crossover move on Vincent Sora as he's going down into turn number 1 on the inside of him.
Well, here's going to be the most difficult thing for Aaron Kralik is how do you get past the leader? That fresh air is such a dominant factor to have for the 28 machine. He could just put his bumper wherever he sees the 0-1 go and see if that's a good enough just defense there as Kralik has to back out just a little bit because of Johnson having a lot more of a leader turn into the corner, holding off the 0-1 for now. As our front 5 still single filed out as our leader, Brian Johnson. He's led every single lap so far, but here comes the 0-1 to the inside. Diving move is Kralik, and he's got to be careful not to come up into our leader.
Yeah, and that really hurt the momentum of Kralik right there. As you see Vincent Sora with a huge run off turn number 2. He gets to the inside of Kralik, pulling Zach Hall, and Zach just tries to get in line behind the 0-1. Really doesn't do much right there as they're side-by-side for second place coming out of turn 4.
Vincent Sora's got to be trying to come up, but gets squeezed by Kralik, and now going to give an opportunity for Zach Hall to utilize the draft to help the 15. And what's interesting about our final 4, if you think outside of this league, all 4 of these drivers are technically on the same team of Category 5 esports. But coming into this season, all 4 drivers were on different teams at one moment. Brian Johnson, coming out of Season 3, was forced out of Category 5, had to move into his own branch, and picked up Nick Crawford to make Magnitude 9 as a new team. That of Vincent Sora who was part of PC Motorsports with Danny Cochran and others. And Zach Hall, he's been working on Category 5, trying to hold that banner and hoping to get a championship for that team, to have 2 championships for themselves. But right now, that of Brian Johnson's got to be careful because here comes Kralik with the run on the outside.
Yeah, Kralik really being able to carry that momentum through the center of the corner. Now that he's on the outside of Brian Johnson, Johnson's not going to be able to run his normal line off the corner. And it's going to slow him down ultimately, as you see right there. Johnson cuts all the way to the bottom, trying to stay on the inside of that 0-1 machine. And right now, he's not in the lead. Like I said earlier, he's not in the lead, but he's still, if the race would finish right now, he would win the championship. And as I say that, Vincent Sora just powers it around the outside to Brian Johnson. And now Sora is the top guy for the championship.
Sora going to be doing a crossover move coming down, Zekin low, trying to get underneath Kralik, not able to do so. And the bottom 3 going to be all championship drivers woeing up on one another, hoping not to run over each other as Johnson now under pressure once again. We're side by side for the battle for first and for third. Here comes Vincent Sora trying to take the lead position, but not able to clear. Kralik out of turn 2. He's got the momentum, and there goes the 0-1, but he doesn't have the draft. That's going to go to that of Vincent Sora. Johnson helps the 15, as there they go into turn number 3. Sora's clear. We'll see if he wants to come up and get in front of the 0-1. It looks like he'll do so. Tom, that's showing the power of the draft on these straightaways.
Yeah, and all these guys early in the race, okay, they're going to be cordial and everything like that. When it comes down to 15-20 to go, you're not going to see that. I expect Brian Johnson to make it 3 wide in that situation coming down to the wire. I expect anybody to try and get as many positions as possible as Zach Hall makes the pass on Brian Johnson now. But as the tires wear, that outside lane is going to be the defend line. Somebody's able to, something I've learned at 1.5 miles, as the tires wear on, when they go to the inside, you're able to defend it if you run that middle line. And you're still going to you're going to be able to hold your position if you do that.
I think they also a factor to watch out for is when you get these major runs on the outside to the straightaway where you're carrying more momentum and speed with being able to get back on the throttle so much sooner, is that for the drivers that are on the inside, if they drift up, that closing rate could be disastrous if drivers are not communicating. As we ride on board with the 94, Sean Hutstetler, one of our final 4 from season 3 just a season ago. He's now trying to pressure and figure out where to run for himself. This has been a great running just based off practice and qualifying for Sean Hutstetler. He qualified in 8th. That one moment was actually the fastest driver during practice as he's watching drivers deking it back and forth in front. It's Vincent Sora that has to go low as almost got ran over by Aaron Crawl.
Yeah, and Sam, you mentioned Sean being fast in qualifying and practice. You know, top half of the field in qualifying, not too shabby. But you know what? At tracks like this, it really doesn't mean much. You know, with these cars, it kind of just comes into, like, where's your pit box at that point? Because, you know, you see guys like Sean Hutstetler and Danny Cochran both making their way into the top 5. They started 8th and 9th. And one thing I noticed about Sean during practice, he wasn't really hot lapping. He was working on that long run pace, trying to see how the tires felt after 5-10 laps and kind of going from there. And ultimately, that's what you need to do on these mile-and-a-halves, because yeah, everybody feels good on new tires, but it depends how you run it on the first 10-15 laps to really feel how it goes for the rest of the run.
2 drivers that were dominating the first about 5 to 10 laps of this race. Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, they are fading back, going to be back in 7th and 8th position. Vincent Sora is leading this thing. Nick Crawford has been able to get by that of Johnson and Hall, and able now to be up to 5th place is Nick Crawford in the 11 green machine. But right now, for Nick Crawford, saw him fading back, Tom, and this can be a tactic for drivers to watch out for. But oh boy, Danny Cochran fades in front of Sean Hutstetler, almost causing calamity for the 11, able to go low, and that was dangerous for a lot of our championship runners that were behind the 2 and also the 94 on that incident. And this is what this pack racing of these mile-and-a-half courses can do. Zach Hall close with Sean Hutstetler on the exit of turn 4. This close, compact pack racing, one wreck. Usually we would say this at super speedway races like we saw last week. The big one is always looming.
Oh, absolutely. With this package for the Gen 6 car, you know, it's hard to pull away. As you see a major checkup on the outside lane. That outside lane's really starting to come in now. And that was the problem with Brian Johnson and Zach Hall. They got stuck on that low lane. Really couldn't power it off the corner like they want to. The outside lane would just zoom right by, and it's basically just a freight train at that point. You got to find a way in. As you see Danny Cochran trying to make the move on Nick Crawford, and Crawford, like I said, he's just going to power it on the outside. Cochran puts the block on Rochelle down the back, trying to stay in front of him. As speaking of putting blocks on, I believe Vincent Sora just threw one on Aaron Kralik, as Nick Crawford works his way up to 3rd place now, trying to run down that 15.
And you threw out a track that was kind of similar in the fact that the banking, Las Vegas, that is exactly where the 11 found his victory at a mile-and-a-half course. That is besides the 2 super speedway wins the 11 has. And Nick Crawford trying to get up front and lead like he did at Las Vegas and trying to go for a win. But this battling that we're seeing for 4th place, this is getting dangerous between Danny Cochran and Kyle Rochelle, because you've got that Zach Hall and Brian Johnson just behind these 2. And if they get too aggressive with these blocks, they might be seeing themselves taking out some contenders.
Yeah, Sam, about a lap ago, as we were focused on that, Danny Cochran actually hit the wall going down into turn number 1, pancaked the right side of that car. It's going to affect how he runs later in the run. He's going to have to hopefully wait for a caution or just hold on for that stage break and get that damage repaired, or he's not going to be up there for much longer.
Speaking of the stage break, it's going to be at the end of lap 70 when these drivers are going to be having their stage break for these drivers. We did notify this. Drivers cannot make it to the end of the stage without having to come into pit road. So drivers are going to think about when they want their pit stops, which, Tom, I would imagine with the timing of that first yellow, it extends these drivers' time to go out a couple of more laps. Probably about 20, 25 laps is going to be the window when we expect drivers come to pit road, as here comes Johnson to the inside, trying to get by Danny Cochran.
Yeah, Sam, you know, with that caution coming on lap 1, it doesn't really change much. It really, if you were going to save fuel, it's really just going to save maybe a lap. If I was in these guys' situation, right now, the pit window's open. I would split this in half and take tires, and I would go to the stage. So you get the most out of those tires and come back in for another set. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys pit right now, took fuel only, and went till the stage break to save an extra set going forward.
That extra set can be so important. As we saw on the apron, going to be the 31 of Thomas Green, able to get back out on track as, oh boy, the 0-1 of Kralik. Got to be careful of that outside wall. We've already seen that outer wall in the backstretch. Flames of victims already. Mark Morales was the first. We've seen some other drivers get pancaked and damage on that right side. But Brian Johnson, who we saw fade all the way back to 8th place at one moment, now up to 4th. And coming up with a hard charge is the 28 machine. And Sam, the difference now, we're now 30 plus laps into this race. The tire wear is certainly there for these drivers. It seems like we're seeing a little bit of a seesaw factor of drivers that back off for 5 to 10 laps, and then they make a hard charge moving forward, while other drivers that were too aggressive for 10 laps, they're going the opposite direction.
Yeah, you're going to see that all race long. You know, you saw it 2 weeks ago at New Hampshire with Danny Cochran. You know, and Zach Hall. They were very, very conservative on the first couple 10, 15 laps or so, and then they charged through the field like everybody was standing still. Brian Johnson kind of did that. He backed off a little bit, fell back in the pack. Granted, that checkup with Danny Cochran kind of holding 5th on back really helped him get by it. And you see him. He's up to 4th now. Right back into contention for battling for the race lead.
And you'll see our front 4. It's going to be that of Vincent Sora, Eric Kralik, Nick Crawford, and Brian Johnson. You're wondering where's Zach Hall, the 4th driver racing for a championship, as 3 of the 4 up front are up there in the top 4. Zach Hall stuck side by side with Sean Hutzsteller. Tom, it's the side drafting. The 94 is holding back Zach Hall. They cannot get by one another, and they're losing the draft of our front 4 machines.
Yeah, they've actually lost the draft at this point. You don't want to be side by side for a long period of time at these mile and a halves in this package. And if I was Zach Hall, I wouldn't worry about it too much. You know you have a guaranteed caution at lap 70. You're not going to go a lap down if you lose the draft, not like Talladega or Daytona. You know, and I would just be patient. You know, if you can make the pass, that's great. If not, stage points don't matter. I would just relax, take care of the car, make sure you don't make any mistakes, and move up for the second half of the race.
Well, taking care of the car is going to be probably one of the biggest factors to watch out for us. There was almost contact between the 32 and the 94 just going into the exit of turn 2, that last lap. We'll see if this go around as they continue to stay side by side. Went from being within a 10th or 2 of our leaders, now 5th place where Zach Hall runs, going to be almost a full second and a half back from that of 3rd place, and almost a full 2 seconds back from our leader of Vincent Sora. So it's going to be a lot of work. They've got to work with one another from here on out. And you saw one of the most colorful cars out there. See the 13 Hello Kitty machine starting to work his way forward up to now 9th place is Cedric Hunter, who's on the move. Our champion from season 3 just missed out on our final 4 to race for a championship last week after Nick Crawford gained his win. Hey, the champion from last season, he's still on the charge up to 9th now.
Yeah, he didn't show much speed in practice. He only ran a handful of laps. But, qualified 10th, running roughly where he started. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see that 13 machine be a contender here by the end of the race. He really showed what he could do at New Hampshire. Unfortunately, got a horrible break at Talladega. Kind of put the, final nail in the coffin for his championship hopes. But, at the end of the day, you have 4 drivers going to a championship, but everybody else wants that win.
Yeah, the playoff system that we came into this season, again, had to go all the way back. It was a total of 12 race regular season, into a 5-race playoff action where 16 drivers made it into the playoffs. As going to be seeing the first 2 races, the round of 16. You then cut it in half. Whoever was in the top 8 of points moved on to the round of 8, where then we saw those 8 drivers get cut down to our final 4 for tonight's race, the race for a championship. It's going to be currently are those 4 drivers to watch out for. Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, Nick Crawford, Zach Hull are the 4 drivers. Their goal here tonight, just finish in front of the other 3 that are in the championship. If they finish where they're at right now, Vincent Sora would be your champion of this series. But Tom, we were wondering when pit road is going to get busy. We're starting to see some of the first ones. Eric Kralik hitting pit road from that top 4 position.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised here if Kralik packs it full of fuel, takes 4 tires. One thing I noticed, and I forgot to mention, he was the first car on that outside lane. Everybody's putting rubber down through practice and qualifying on that bottom. It doesn't wear the tires that much. Once you become that first car on the outside, really starts wearing the tires more until the race really goes on and more people start working up there. We almost have contact. Sean Huffstetter, did he make it to pit road?
He did make it in. It was a very late positioning for himself to force himself into pit road. It was very scary to watch. The drivers, they need to start indicating. I didn't hear it over the radio, nor did I see it visibly in the driver's chat of some of these drivers saying that they were going to come in, but it was a very close contact. Tom, you took another look at it. How was that look?
I don't think Sean made it. He came in very fast, got it down to the proper speed, but he actually hit the cone, missed the commitment line, and went past the commitment line to get on pit road. That's going to be a black flag, I believe.
Well, it looks like he's actually clear. He's good. He's nervous, and he's back out there on track. So there was no penalty. Yes, it looked sketchy from our point of view, but it was good for the 94, and admins decided it was a clean pit stop for that. Sean Huffstetter who's going to get back out on track as we continue to watch this battling is going on for the top, trying to get into the top 10. Driver we haven't really seen most of the season, dipped out halfway through and is showing up for this last race. It's going to be that of Adam Westfield, who's running in 11th place. It started last here tonight, was moved up that of 7 positions, just going with the patient route. See what other drivers are thinking about doing, let the competition wreck themselves out, and see where the 88 is going to lie here tonight.
Yeah, and you're going to see as these guys pit, they're really going. This is where the field's going to get spread out. As you see the 24 machine, excuse me, 24 machine trying to rocket past these lead lap cars. He is right now 2 laps down, but I believe he did make a pit stop, and he does have fresh tires. That's why you see him going down to the bottom, carrying so much speed through the corner. Right now, as they run, the guys out on track right now are about 2.5 seconds off their fastest lap. So, Aaron Kralik, once this cycles out, he's going to be sitting pretty to win this stage. Granted, no points are on the line, but he's going to have that almighty track position going into the second part of the race. Once everything cycles around, he's probably going to have roughly a 3 to 4 second lead at least with the tire difference.
That is the goal, is to have a big enough lead that the other drivers that continue to stay out, they don't have enough time to run down the 0-1. But again, that plateauing is going to be a factor to watch out for as we're watching the battle for 9th place. Thomas Walter in 57 trying to hold off to defend. Danny Cochran in the 2 and the 88 of that of Westfield. And as well, you've got Dakota Moniz and also Maurice Gilmillion trying to get by as Tom Senchak hits pit road for the 8th.
Yep, and he was really fighting. Another thing that we're going to have to worry about, like under these green flag conditions, is getting on the pit road. Like I mentioned earlier, the front stretch isn't really banked that bad to where you can go on the apron. Well, when you're entering pit road, the banking is a lot more than the front stretch. I believe Zach Hall is pitting this time. I think I heard it over the radio. Yeah, he's on pit road right now. You're going to have to really be aggressive, but you're going to have to take it easy at the same time. It's very easy to spin out going onto pit road here.
Yeah, and over the radio, there's a lot of communication of drivers recognizing that they even have to pit. Some, I don't think, realize that where the stage was that you were going to have to come into pit road, as they were thinking, oh, drivers are just trickling in, maybe they've got issues. No, you have to come into pit road before stage 1 is done at the end of lap 70. The drivers are going to have to be making their moves into pit road. Cedric Hunter is going to be the next driver to come in, as this is going to be that we thought Sean Hutzfelder was going to get penalized. He didn't, but that's still there for these drivers to watch out for. Those penalties can be very costly if you get caught speeding here at Chicagoland, as we're on lap 50, coming to 51 with 20 laps to go with these drivers here in stage 1. Tom, we've only had one yellow so far, and it's Vincent Soar, Nick Crawford, Brian Johnson, our top three of our 4 championship drivers running well up front, but we still haven't seen any of those front 3 think about pit road just yet, as Loveland now hits pit road.
Yeah, and I think these guys, right now, I think they're going to try and run this thing dry. I expect them to pit within the next 5 laps or so, as Thomas Walter, I believe, came over the radio. He's saying he's coming down pit road this time. He's running 5th at the moment. And, I expect them to take it easy, considering no stage points are on the line. If I was them, I'd take it easy after they pit and stay out under that stage caution, try and gain as much track position as possible. They're definitely not going to be in the top 3 when pit stops cycle around, and just to get that track position back, I would try and get off sequence, save that extra set of tires. Who knows? As it looks like our 3rd place, no, he's just ran really low. I thought Brian Johnson was coming down pit road that time, but faked me out right there.
Went onto the apron trying to maximize that speed, as you got that of Aaron Kralik trying to unlap himself the hard way, as well as the 94 Sean Hutzfelder coming with a lot of speed, trying to get themselves back out there on the lead lap. As right now it's going to be Sean Hutzfelder leading the drivers that came into pit road. If pit cycle went through, it would actually be the 94 right now. That is looking like he'll be taking the lead after pitting a lap after Aaron Kralik. Tom, that's going to be interesting to watch out for, is the fact that the 94, they're close as the 01 in the 94, but they're keeping it real racy with our leaders as they blow on by, and now going to be back onto the lead lap, unlapping themselves the hard way. Zach Hall currently the first car lap down, trying to catch up to this lead group, as our leaders, they got to be careful if they've got lap traffic swarming them, not allowing them to come into pit road.
Yeah, it's not fun, having a lap down. It's happened to me multiple times where a lap down car has sent it underneath me, and I was not able to make a pit stop where I wanted to. That's the problem that they couldn't counter. If they run until like 1 lap to go on fuel, and you have a lap down car to your inside, and you can't make it down pit road, you got to worry about running out of fuel right there. I'm not a fan of running the tank dry. I usually pit with like 2 or 3 laps to go in my fuel tank, just to make sure if I have any mistakes, whether trying to get onto pit road or with a car below me when I'm trying to pit, just so I'm able to go around that extra lap and not worry about running out of gas.
Well, Vincent Soar did have 2 other drivers with them. Well, they just ditched. And Nick Crawford, Ryan Johnson, both hitting pit road, as well as Danny Cochran coming into the pits. We still have 2 more drivers that are expected to come in. That's going to be Adam Westfield and Vincent Soar. Soar's got to be careful, though, because he's got that of Morales and Zach Hall, both going to be trying to figure out how to get by the 15.
Yeah, Vincent Soar just let the 32 go. The 24 machine, he's got the oldest tires right now. The guys that have pitted, he has the oldest tires. So it's going to be tough for him to get around the 15. Definitely faster than him right now. But I'm not sure if he got all that damage repaired, as it looks like Vincent's going to be coming in this time by, as the 24 is going to stay high. Vincent just trying to get a clean entry. That's all he needs to do.
All he needs to do, and the driver that's leading currently of those that have already come to pit road, going to be that Sean Hutzfelder in the 94 with Aaron Kralik behind. But also a driver to watch out for, Zach Hall, with coming into pit road, that of being 4 laps sooner than seeing Brian Johnson or Nick Crawford, has a big enough lap gap lead, might be able to hold off as Vincent Soar hits pit road. It's Adam Westfield staying out for an extra lap. We'll see when the 88 decides to come to pit road.
Yeah, and Sam, like I mentioned, Brian Johnson, all right, he was running 3rd at that point, and Nick Crawford was running 2nd. You look at the interval between when everything cycles around right now, you look at the interval, it's about a 10-second gap between the 28 and the 11 and the guys that started these green flag pit stops, the 01, the 94, the 32. And when everything cycles around, Zach Hall is going to inherit the race lead.
And he's got a good lead for himself. Now pulling away from Sean Hutzstutler, Eric Kralik. Next driver that's got fresher tires than the 32 is actually going to be all the way back in that of 6th position with Cedric Hunter. As we still wait for that of Westfield to come into pit road. Do have one driver that was caught having an unsafe pit entry. Dakota Moniz in the 5. Unluck, the luck of the 5 has not been great this season, and it continues on as he's going to be a lap down once the cycle is over. But luckily, there should be enough drivers that are going to be a lap down. I mean, that aren't going to be a lap down, that Dakota Moniz might be able to get a lucky dog spot once we see the 88, which he's now hit pit road, once this pit cycle goes all the way through.
Yeah, right now we have 2 guys that are a lap down, Martin Morales and James Trammell. He might be able to stay on the lead lap. I'm not sure. And, you know, if he does go a lap down, he's got to make sure he's in front of those 2 guys. Dakota's now 2 laps down, so, you know, he's not going to be getting the lucky dog this time by unless something happens to the 20 or the 24.
Yeah, that's the thing with Adam Westfield going to be being passed, and with everyone going through their pits, going through the pit cycle here fully. It's Zach Hall going to be in the lead currently. Sean Hutzstutler in 2nd. Cedric Hunter going to be in 3rd. Hunter is running about 0.3 faster than Hall. He's going to be the car charger trying to catch up to the 32, as well as Tom Sinchak going to be in 4th place. These drivers are on some of the freshest tires and are on the move trying to run down Zach Hall, but it's the laps. Coming to the end here, we're coming to 9 laps to go in stage number 1. And for the drivers up front, they're going to be doing their best to try to run down, as I believe that of Adam Westfield might have been stuck with a speeding penalty coming out of pit road. He's back in busy 88.
Yeah, I don't know if he just didn't throw. He's taking tires again. I don't know what happened. I saw the right sides go up, and now I believe the left sides are going up. I don't know what happened to him, but you know what? It's going to be a race for the lead soon. I want to say they're cutting in. Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, they're cutting in about a second and a half, or anywhere from a second to a second and a half into Zach Hall's lead. They've cut it down to underneath 5 seconds in 3 laps. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 28 and the 11 get up there, but I don't know if they're going to get enough time to actually pass it.
That's always been the key. Was there enough laps? Was staying out as long as they were to try to run down the drivers that were pitting sooner? It's going to be about a half a straightaway is the difference between Zach Hall and Brian Johnson currently right now. Is the 28. It's going to be up to 4th, seeing that of 3rd in 2nd place, just a little bit ahead. Same with Nick Crawford flying behind the 28 machine of Brian Johnson, and a driver that I'm concerned about, but just went with a different strategy and stayed out way longer. Vincent Sora all the way back in 12th place. Tom, that is not where you want to be, especially with knowing that a yellow is right around the corner as we take a look at the speed differences of Zach Hall compared to that of Brian Johnson.
Yeah, you mentioned Vincent Sora. He's doing exactly what I thought he was going to do. He is running the same lap times that he was before he pit. And he is taking care of those tires. He knows stage points don't matter. With these guys running their tires like they are, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Vincent Sora stays out.
No, I wouldn't either. He is running so much off the pace, and it's now a little concerning with yes, he's saving. I'm looking around. The car looks clean. He's just saving those tires. And also, I think another thing for Vincent Sora, he doesn't have the draft help that everyone else was working with. He's not a part of the draft. Same with Zach Hall, currently doesn't have the draft, but Brian Johnson now less than a second and a half away as we're coming up to that 4 laps to go here in stage number 1. And here comes Nick Crawford and Brian Johnson. They're going to be side by side, and they might split Zach Hall 3 wide once they get up to the 32.
Yeah, coming to 4 laps to go this time by. And Sam, I went back and looked at Vincent Sora's pit stop. He took fuel only. So that explains why he's running the same lap times that he was when, he pit.
Trying to save that extra set. Should still be on the lead lap. But is that extra set going to be working out for the 15? Strategies are always going to be there. We'll see if it's going to be for the 15's glory here tonight, or will it be the other three drivers? Zach Hall, Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford. They're your top three right now. They're also part of our Final Four with Vincent Sora. And it is on now, Tom. This Johnson, Crawford, they've caught up to Zach with 3 laps to go here in the stage. Looks like Johnson and that of Nick Crawford, they pitted just at the right moment to be able to pass 32 before this stage is done.
Yeah, they made a great call pitting when they did. Had just enough time as Brian Johnson's going to send it to the outside. He's going to have that lap car to get some draft coming off. And this is where I'd worry a little bit as we have 2 to go in the stage right now. Brian Johnson has some of the freshest tires in the field. I'm looking back at Martin Morales. He's the first car lap down. Danny Cochran is only 2 seconds ahead of the race leader. I'd be a little worried if I was Martin if the 28 actually got to the back of Danny and put him a lap down. That could really throw a wrench into things.
You're forcing some of these drivers to potentially stay out, take a wave around, throw it away. As the laps tick away, we are now on the white flag. It's the stage break currently. It's going to be Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford battling to see who's going to have that lead position. Brian Johnson made the pass that he was just lingering in 3rd place before coming into pit road. Made the pass a lap before coming into pit road. That pass is what's enabled the 28 to be in the lead. And Tom, that strategy and that questioning, would Danny Cochran go a lap down? Where here we go, coming to the line, expecting the yellow to fly. Danny Cochran able to stay ahead, will not go a lap down. Martin Morales gets the lucky dog here today.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a little Brian Johnson being nice, kind of checked up a little bit down the front stretch to let Danny stay on the lead lap. I don't know if that was, just because they're good friends or, something like that. But if I was him, I would have put him lap down.
I mean, that's the aggression competition in us. You want to lap every single driver down that you can. And sometimes there are little alliances. Hey, I'll scratch your back. We'll scratch mine. As the driver's going to be up front, you got that of Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, Zach Hall going to be your top 3. The other Final Four driver, that of Vincent Sora, is going to be back in 12. That's where your Final Four lie. Championship racing here tonight on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series, for the Track Racer Cups, over the Track Racer NAISCC Championship race here in Chicagoland. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we get back to Green Flag Racing and seeing who's going to get the championship here for Season 4. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is championship night here Saturday on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, as the drivers here are racing to see who's going to get their first championship in the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series. Is it going to be Brian Johnson leading right now, Nick Crawford in second, Zach Hall in third, or all the way mired back to ninth is where we find Vincent Sora? Those are your four drivers. The goal for all four of them, just beat out the other three competitors that are on their list. But here tonight, Chicagoland, it has been a blast to watch. Stage one is done. We're now coming up to the halfway marker for these drivers. It's the Track Racer NAISCC Championship race at Chicagoland. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Tom Bourne, Robert Moyer running productions here tonight. Tom, we're getting up to halfway. We're about to go green flag racing, but man, this race is almost over, it feels like, with how quick we got to halfway.
Yeah, we're going to be restarting on the halfway point right here with Brian Johnson and Nick Crawford leading them down. Honestly, I expect a lot of the same thing we saw in the first stage. We're coming to 75 laps to go. One more guaranteed pit stop. You got to be perfect, because if it goes green like it just did, if you're not perfect, it could possibly end your race.
It possibly could, as we've only had one on-track incident that brought out a yellow. That was lap one. And we are now excited to see how the season will conclude. Brian Johnson, it's the loud pedal, and we are green halfway here at Chicagoland for the Track Racer NAISCC Championship race. And it's all the 28 for now, as Zach Hall tries to get in front of the 11 of Nick Crawford. And look, there's the Hello Kitty machine. Cedric Hunter, he's up in the mix as well.
Yeah, Crawford's going to get the run off turn two, just like how we saw in the first restart. That outside lane really prevailing. Now that the rubber's laid down a little bit, Zach Hall sends it underneath the 11, and now that the rubber's laid down on the middle to high line a little bit, you're going to see these guys running the outside a little more and being able to carry more speed and not wear the tires as much.
Also interested to see how Aaron Kralik, who had to get damage repairs, how he's going to be able to recover. As there goes Nick Crawford on the outside. That momentum, just rush of speed you get from running the outer lane onto the backstretch is massive. And another driver to watch out for is going to be Vincent Sora. Had to start all the way back in ninth place. Has now cracked the top five, and hoping that he hasn't lost too much ground to the draft is the 15 getting swamped by RS Racing of Tom Sinchek and Kyle Rochelle.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about Vincent Sora. He's only about, I want to say, 6/10 back from, Cedric Hunter. And you lose the draft at about a second back. So he's going to get to the back bumper sooner rather than later. And he'll be right up here battling for the win. And he's got an extra set of tires now if we need them towards the end of the race for like a green-white checker or something like that.
It's going to be a big factor for us to watch out for, as Vincent Sora being the toe, pulling along everyone from fifth on back to catch up to our front four. And our front four drivers that last season, teammates, they had to divide and make two different teams so they weren't just dominating and sweeping the team aspect into season four. Originally from category 5, split up Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter. They stayed with category 5 coming into season 4. It was Brian Johnson had to make his own team, brought Nick Crawford along, and that 929 team has been the most consistent of the two factions, as we ran on board with the 28 of Brian Johnson and Zach Hall leading here. We'll see how long you can try to defend, as Tom, we saw during that first stage, first 20 laps of the stint, with Zach Hall, Brian Johnson, they led the majority of this run in the first 15 to 20 laps, and then they faded back to 8th and 9th position, then had a rebound to come back, surging forward. They got to be concerned for themselves if they're just cooking these tires too much too early.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern, but you know what? We got rubber laid down. Tires aren't going to wear as much. You can push the car a little more, and you're really going to be able to work around the track and see what really works for you. As you see the front three trying to pull away from Nick Crawford. And Sam, just to mention, you mentioned earlier Thomas Green. We haven't seen him since Dover. He is our first retiree of the night. Unfortunately, he's going to end the season with an 18th place finish. Not the night he wanted.
It absolutely was not, but we will be seeing the 31 on Monday nights, as we will be having the NAISCC Truck Series back on Monday Night Racing. We're excited for it. Their opener going to be Monday night, and as well for the MPI Cup Series. We'll look at some of the more amazing action for these drivers later on, as watching right now, Zach Hall, Brian Johnson, Cedric Hunter, and also Nick Crawford front four. They're trying to pull away. And I thought Vincent Sora was going to be closing in. He's actually been losing time, Tom. So our front four, they're doing a great job pulling away. But this side-by-side racing for the lead is going to be woeing up. And oh boy, almost closing in and pinching with Zach Hall in front of the 28.
Yeah, it was really close. Zach Hall doesn't want to be doing that, especially with, 60 laps, 60, 70 laps to go. Still a lot of time, still have a pit stop. I'm thinking it's a little too aggressive, too early still.
But that aggression level is something that I think everyone up front is recognizing. This is the last time that you're really going to be on equal footing, because we're expecting all these drivers to have different type of ideas on their pit stops. Of our Championship 4, again, that is Zach Hall leading right now. Second place, Brian Johnson. Nick Crawford in fourth. Vincent Sora back in fifth place. Those are your Championship 4. Their goal, again, just to beat out the other 3 drivers and finish ahead of them, and you win the championship. You don't have to win the race. You just got to beat out those other competitors for the championship. Putting them questioning on when do they want to come to pit road. We saw Zach Hall be one of the first drivers to come to pit road. He was able to stretch it out pretty good when it was about 20 laps to go, but it was in the final 3 laps of stage 1 when the 32 lost the lead. I wonder if he's thinking about stretching out a little bit sooner or pitting sooner. Stretching out a little bit further, or pitting sooner. This is when the mind games, it's a chess match in your mind. When do you truly need to come into pit road?
If I was Zach Hall right now, I learned from stage 1. He pit roughly 10 laps sooner than... Ooh, that was close to the wall. Jeez. He pit about 10 laps sooner than Brian Johnson and them, and he lost the lead coming to the stage. When they pit, we're going to have roughly 5 to 6. If they stretch it all the way, we're going to have about 5 to 6 more laps than what we did in stage 1. I wouldn't be surprised if I was Zach Hall, I would pit when Brian Johnson pits. I would pit when Nick Crawford pits. And I think that's what they're going to do is contact between the 13 and the 28.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
And I think the 28 might have brushed the wall there. It was extremely close. Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, and Cedric Hunter all racing strong. And where did he come from? Vincent Sora almost a second back. Now flying is the 15 machine. Side by side, the battle for second and the battle for fourth place is on. Zach Hall leads this 5-car group as they continue to pull away. There's no chance of drivers further back really catching up, but Johnson trying to get down low, trying to find any type of space underneath Cedric Hunter. Can't get it. The Hello Kitty machine's on the move up to second and try and take that lead position from Zach Hall.
Yeah, but Sam, I'd watch out for that 15 machine. After Zach Hall and Brian Johnson really fell off, not by much, but they did fall off after the first 15, 20 laps. Well, you know what? We're getting to that 15 lap mark is a big check from the 13 and the 28. Vincent Sora led the rest of the stage. He really knows how to take care of those tires. And you know what, Sam? I'm going to make my race pick tonight, right now. I think Vincent Sora is going to win this race and win the championship.
That's a strong pick. You've been 2 for 2 so far this season, trying to make it 3 for 3, and also trying to pick the championship. If we're going to be making picks, oh gosh, I don't even know who I want to pick here. I think if anything, I might have to go with the driver that's won the most, Brian Johnson, 28 machine. He wants that redemption. Feels like he was one of the drivers that could have potentially won this race for himself coming into last season with winning over 7 races, but coming up shy at Homestead. But comes into this race, most wins again for season 4, and also comes in with 5 wins, trying to go for win number 6 potentially. And Tom, heard it from a producer, he's going with Zach Hall on his pick.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Hall, solid pick. Most top 5s in the league as they run. And honestly, he's doing everything right now. He's got that 13 machine in between the other championship drivers as Nick Crawford almost gets into the side of Vincent Sora off turn 2. I'm very happy to see Zach Hall leading this race. I think it's, I think he has the speed. I don't think he's just had the best speed in the races, in the previous races. But he's really showing how strong that car is. Maybe he made some driving adjustments because, in a fixed setup, you really can't make adjustments to the car, but you can definitely adjust how you drive. And maybe he learned something on that first stage, and he's beating the Pied Piper right now, to quote some NASCAR broadcasters, just leading these guys around. And as I say that, Cedric Hunter looking to make a move here on Zach Hall going down to turn 1.
I mean, the cream certainly does rise to the top, as right now our top 6 are drivers that are, drivers. You've got Tom Sinchek, that it's won 2 championships in this Cup Series. You got in second place Cedric Hunter, who won last season's championship, and the other 4 that are in the top 6 looking for their first championship, and they're the 4th that are racing for the gold here tonight. As it's Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, Vincent Sawyer, top 5. But we're starting to now see RS Racing closing in the gap. Tom Sinchek, Kyle Rochelle, 6th and 7th. They're now on the tail end, and this is what
contact!
Contact!
Oh, what a save by Nick Crawford!
Did he hit the wall? He tried to keep it off it as much as possible. But Tom, that is hurtful for the 11. No yellow waves. We stay green. And Nick Crawford hated to see that moment happen.
Oh my goodness. First of all, an amazing save by Nick Crawford. Just locked down the tires, trying to keep it out of the wall. And he got the car straightened out. But like you mentioned, all that track position gone. He fell from 3rd to 13th in a matter of a corner. And does not have the draft of anybody right now. And this is where I think Nick Crawford, to get out of sequence, once that pit, window opens, I'd see him being one of the first cars down pit road to try and get some of that track position back and hoping for a caution to even it out.
And it wasn't even a purposeful hit there. I believe it was with the wind that might have been the big factor on why Vincent Sora, who went underneath, just changed the airflow, got the 11 loose, and got him spinning around. It's just showing in the smallest margins. You could be seeing yourself going around, and Nick Crawford needed that caution to come out. This is putting him in a desperation type of a mode at this point for that of the 11 back in 13th place. But up front, the pressure's still on. Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, they're still on the loud pedal and still running hard here for the start of lap 97.
Yeah, and Sam, you mentioned it maybe about 10-15 laps ago about the other guys not being able to catch up. Well, something I've noticed, the top 5 at the time were really checking up. The 13 really wasn't making moves on the 32, which in turn the 28 really wasn't making moves. The 11, the 15, they were all checking up for one another, and that was allowing the 8, the 1, and even the 94, all those guys to really catch up. As you see another big checkup right there, that's going to allow Tom Sinchek, Kyle Rochelle, Sean Huffstetler to really gain on them to try and make, a charge to possibly win this race.
Who's going to want to duck out when they can time that checkup? I think that's going to be the key of, okay, when we're entering turn 1, there's a little bit more of a checkup than usual. Then going into turn 3, I'm going to move to the high line, try to get a run off because they're losing so much of that momentum just in the entry of the corner. There's going to be those small little things that the drivers are going to be picking up on. And as well, for that of Zach Hall, he might also be recognizing, hey, I'm slowing down a little bit more. I got to get a little bit of a late entry, turning in later and later. So the drivers that try to go to the outside, they got to slow down, and they don't get to carry all that speed that they truly want to. As here comes the 8, Tom Sinchek, champ. He's now collected himself with this front group and now trying to make a run potentially to our 5th, to our 4th, or even 3rd place position.
Yeah, and Sam, going back to those checkups when they were all in the line, they were running about, I want to say 2 to 3 tenths slower than the 8 and the 1, where they were just running their own line. That really cost them, and you can see it on the track. Tom Sinchek has now gone to the back bumper of Brian Johnson and Vincent Sora. And I wouldn't be surprised here, Sinchek, it's a battle for, the championship, but Tom's going out here for a win. He's looking 3 wide going down to 1, thinks better of it, as Vincent Sora and Brian Johnson still side by side.
If it wasn't a championship race, I think Tom Sinchek would have sent it there. If it's just because of the amount of pressure is on, you know there's a race inside of a race with the championship 4, with having Nick Crawford losing out. He's now back again, still in 13th position, has not gained any time or positionings. And then up front, you got Zach Hall, who's leading this race. Cedric Hunter is splitting up the other drivers of Vincent Sora and Brian Johnson. But Tom Sinchek's just poking his nose a little bit more and more, Tom. We're now 2/3 done with today's race. We're now coming to less than 50 laps to go now. And the pressure's on as that of Vincent Sora gets out of shape, and Tom Sinchek had to whoa up before he wiped out the 15.
Yeah, and Sam, you mentioned, we're less than 50 laps to go. Pit window is open. These guys probably got about 20 laps of fuel left, give or take, maybe a couple more. I don't see them pitting right now. I see them pitting probably, probably with about 30 laps to go, as you see Brian Johnson really slide up off turn number 2. Vincent Sora is just going to stay tucked up behind him. And I mentioned it earlier. Once these tires wear, you can really defend on that outside lane. You saw it in the battle between Brian Johnson and Vincent Sora. Vincent Sora couldn't make the pass on Brian Johnson because Johnson was able to take the run on the outside and wasn't able to let Vincent Sora slide up for the full momentum off the corner. As I say that, Sora looks to the inside of Brian Johnson, and Cedric Hunter has caught the 32 machine of Zach Hall.
Well, he's been riding behind Zach Hall for the majority of this time, but Johnson's been trying to figure out how to make that outside lane work, but just, again, he catches up to the checkup of Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter at the worst time, so he's losing that speed. That's why Vincent Sora's going to the inside, hoping that he can grasp just one more position to move up and get himself closer and closer, and there goes Vincent Sora, able to make the pass. I mean, it's the entry at the corner that's been really usually helps the outside lane to get a good run out of the corner, but it is hurting Brian Johnson right now with him trying to find just a little bit more speed and clean air on the outside.
Well, you know what, Sam, the thing was right there, Brian Johnson, yeah, he had pull from the 13 in front of him, but Tom Sinchek was tucked up right to the back bumper of the 15, and he actually pushed him 3/4 of a car length clear of Brian Johnson before turn number 1, and Vincent Sora was just able to sail it into turn 1 and slide up right in front of the 28, as Sinchek making the pass on Brian Johnson now on the outside lane. Johnson put him falling back to 5th. Sinchek back up to 4th. I think this is the highest he's been all night long.
It's been one of the biggest moves for the 8. He's been hovering around 5th and trying to stay in the top 5 for a majority of this race, and now going to be up to 4th. As I really love the fact that Sinchek entered that corner that last go around. He's trying to give himself just a little bit more space so he can carry more speed into the corners. So when he comes out, he's got that giant run to work with. But last time by wasn't at the quarter panel of the 15, so wasn't able to maximize that entry into turn 1. But that seems to be the positioning. If you're going to make a pass, it's on the entry of turn 1. 3 and 4 seems so difficult to get any type of momentum built up to make a pass.
Yeah, that's how it is at this track. It kind of reminds me of, it kind of reminds me of Texas, where, turn 3 and 4, you really can't go and do anything on that outside lane. But, it's Vincent Sora now sees what Tom Sinchek is doing, and he's trying to do it through 1 and 2. Was able to get to the back bumper of Cedric Hunter, but Hunter taking that late arc into the corner really shuts the door for Sora to make a move to the outside. If he's going to get around this 13 machine on the outside, he's got to get a great run off 4, peek to the outside, and really sail it into turn 1 as you see another big checkup. And Sinchek does what I just said, sails it to the outside. He gets to the outside of Vincent Sora, not able to make it stick, and we go back single file.
Another factor, Tom, that we haven't really brought up that much is defending and blocking. For that of Zach Hall, he's able to stay up front. His teammate is Cedric Hunter, and Hunter has proven last season, this season, in almost every series that we've watched, this 13 Hello Kitty machine is one of the hardest drivers to try to get by. His blocking and placement of the car gets frustrating for some, as there goes Vincent Sora finally finding an opening to come down and try to make a pass. But Cedric Hunter, big credit on why Zach Hall has felt so comfortable up front and be able to run whatever lane or pace that he truly wants to go out there for.
Yeah, and you saw it right there. Vincent Sora was able to sail it underneath that 13 machine, but he wasn't able to complete the pass. Wasn't able to keep the momentum, and we're back to where we were. We're back to square one, you know? And ultimately, Zach Hall is doing a great job leading this train, just kind of trying to run wherever he wants. And like you said, he's got a great buffer with Cedric Hunter in between these guys. And right now, the top 3 points, we have 2 non-chase guys really trying to mix things up. If Tom Sinchek gets by Vincent Sora, well, you know what? Now Vincent Sora has 2 cars to get by to get to Zach Hall. As you see the 13 just throw a big block down the front stretch, I wouldn't be surprised if Vincent Sora just sends it into turn 1 to try and clear him right here.
I mean, as it's getting extremely racy up front, dude, gotta give note. Back for around 10th place, there almost was a yellow thrown about a lap ago as Thomas Walter and also Aaron Kralik got into one another and almost brought out a yellow. They're still getting pretty racy as see Nick Crawford in the mix of that group. But gotta say, Nick Crawford's gotta be careful as the drivers back here, they're racing really for nothing, and they are putting on a show at moments that is dangerous and potentially could wipe out the 11 for confirming his chances of going for a win here. As you see, Aaron Kralik currently in 10th place as the 11 has moved up 2 positions from where he lost. Remember, he fell all the way back to 13th after the contact between himself and Vincent Sora, and trying to make sure that he can at least be in a position if a yellow does come out. Nick Crawford's still in a racing spot.
Yeah, and Sam, just a note right here. I saw it off camera. Brian Johnson lost 5th place to Kyle Rochelle, so now throw Brian Johnson in a little bit bigger of a hole. You know, where they're running right now, this is where it can get interesting. All right, does Vincent Sora pit 1 lap before Zach Hall to try and overtake him, to overtake the 13? Does Brian Johnson do it to try and overtake all these guys? Whoever pits first out of this group is going to take the top spot, just because they're all underneath a blanket. And just heard over the radio, Danny Cochran, it looks like he's going to be the first car to make it down pit road. The first of green flag pit stops right here, coming with 36 to go, I believe. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see Zach Hall or Vincent Sora peek down within the next lap or 2.
I'm going to be in the mindset of I want to be the driver that pits in the middle. If be either the second or third driver. I would probably feel the most comfortable being the third driver coming to pit road of those that are up front. Make sure that you are in a position where you're finding that Goldilocks spot. It just seems like every single time we watch these drivers making these positions, it's always that middle ground. But into pit road, it's Brian Johnson, going to be the first of our Championship 4 drivers making this money stop.
Yeah, and Johnson, I wouldn't be great pit road entry. 4 tires. He's going to pack it full of fuel, get back out there as fast as he can. All right, he's going to have the freshest tires for a little bit, but now I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, as we see Vincent Sora lose it. Getting onto pit road, he gets down to pace speed. That could help Vincent Sora get by Brian Johnson, because Johnson's going to have a fresher, 1 lap fresher tires getting back out there. But Zach Hall still out in front. Who knows when he's going to come down pit road? He hasn't said anything over the radio yet. And we got a battle for second right now between Tom Sinchek and Cedric Hunter. Zach Hall passes pit road. And it looks like Brian Johnson back out on track, and Vincent Sora left side's going up, and he's away.
Well, with the fact that we just saw 3 of our 4 championship drivers all come to pit road within just about a couple of laps, I like this call from Zach Hall. He could stay out here and basically play a couple of games with that of Cedric Hunter, Tom Sinchek, and Kyle Rochelle. If this 4-car group comes in together, they can try to utilize the draft to catch up to that of Brian Johnson and Vincent Sora and Nick Crawford. And I feel bad for Crawford. I feel like Crawford needed to come to pit road sooner, but now is going to be on just a lap newer tires than Vincent Sora and Brian Johnson. It's going to be tough on the 11 to come back from this, as we see our front 4 still trying to figure out when they want to come to pit road. But Tom, that slide from Vincent Sora into pit road, that is going to be costly on time for himself.
I don't think it's actually going to cost him that much. Yeah, he slid, but it got the car slowed down. Luckily, he took 4 tires. You know, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And the thing, you mentioned it earlier, Sam, about these 4 guys coming down pit road to use the draft to catch up. I'd be very careful. These guys are running so close to one another. I'd be very careful if these guys are coming down pit road together. Because as Zach Hall, as I say that, Zach Hall coming over the radio, him and Cedric Hunter are both pitting this time by, there could be a little calamity coming down pit road.
Oh boy, almost taking each other out. Same for Kyle Rochelle. I don't think Rochelle heard them over the radio potentially, as Hunter and Hall both get into pit road, but it was not the safest route. It was probably one of the sketchiest moments that we've seen here tonight. 30 laps to go, Tom, and this is the money stop. All 4 championship contenders have come into pit road.
Yeah, honestly, right now, Brian Johnson's going to inherit the lead. He's about to unlap himself as he's absolutely just flying by the top 2. Vincent Sora, he's about 2 seconds back from Brian Johnson. And I don't know if he's trying to save a little tires for the run, because like you said, we got 30 to go. It's not 10 laps to go like we had at the end of stage 1. You're going to have to make these tires last. And right now, in all honesty, I think Zach Hall's sitting in prime position. He's going to have the freshest tires of the Championship 4 going down to the wire. And I think he's going to be able to run him down and pass him.
Well, as we see our front 2 now coming into pit road, that of Tom Sinchek and also Kyle Rochelle, a little bit of a checkup there for the 8. Well, had to be careful for himself, but this is concern for me as that of the 13, Cedric Hunter, trying to get through this pack. Zach Hall has been able to get by, but the 13's trying to stay attached to Zach Hall to try to work and defend the best of his abilities. So right now, Zach Hall, our producer's pick on who was going to win the tonight for a championship. He's looking primed and good for himself. There's a couple of other drivers still need to come to pit road. Aaron Kralik in the 01, the 44 of Maurice Gilmillion. Currently our leaders need to come into pit road still as they're side by side battling for this lead position. As they still, again, they need to come into pit road as well as 3rd place runner. That of Martin Morales needs to still come into pit road. But Tom, this is it. All the playoff championship drivers, they have already made their money stop. It's from here on out who made the better decision of coming in early or staying out late.
Yeah, and it wasn't a big gap like it was on stage 1 with Zach Hall hitting before the other 3. It was about a 5-lap difference. Granted, yes, it could become something bigger, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference. Like I said, I think Zach Hall does definitely have a good chance to get that lead back. But, you know, Nick Crawford, he's battling with Danny Cochran right now in the 94 of Sean Huffstutler. I don't know if Crawford needs a caution. That's what he needs.
Oh, boy. We look on screen, though, Tom. That 20 of James Tremmel almost wiping out the 01 of Aaron Kralik. A very scary situation, especially for our 2 leaders. Again, they have not pitted. They need to come to pit road here in the next anywhere from 2 to 3 laps. Is going to be forced to come to pit road. It's Gilmillion and Kralik as James Tremmel, who is 9 laps down, almost taking out the 01 there for a quick second, as well as dropping back to 5th place. Drivers are side by side, and playoff championship implications going on for that 6th place position. Danny Cochran, that of Aaron Kralik, all making a slight contact, but able to still looking forward.
Yeah, I don't know how they haven't wrecked these cars. They have been so close so many times. And, you know, you see it right in front of that 4-car battle. Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, nose to tail. They're going to stay that way, probably. And they are working their way up to Vincent Sora, to Brian Johnson. They're only 4 seconds behind Vincent Sora, as Sora is now 3 seconds behind Brian Johnson. I don't know if Brian's pushing the car too much. I think it could be a problem for him as the race runs on.
Well, I think the big thing that's going to be helping Vincent Sora and Brian Johnson is the plateau that we're expecting when these tires are about 20 laps in. That's going to be the big advantage for that of the 28 and the 15 as they're hoping they can make a big enough gap so Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter can't catch up, but they're banking on the amount of laps, the timing, and that interval of the gap not to get too close with one another. As the laps continue to tick away, we still wait for a front two. Maurice Gomillion and Aaron Kralik still need to come in pit road. They've been out there for 55 laps, Tom. They still are somehow out there on track for another lap. 56 now for the 01 and the 44.
Yeah, I think they're just hoping for a caution at this point. If a caution comes out right now, everybody's coming back down pit road. And they'll really come out with a good track position game. You haven't seen Maurice Gomillion up at the front all race long. He started 16th, kind of been running towards the back half of the field. You know, maybe cracked the top 10 earlier in the race. You saw Aaron Kralik leading a couple laps earlier. We know his car is fast, but I think they're just hoping for a caution right now. And Sam, Vincent Sora is starting to cut down on Brian Johnson, but Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter are coming.
Yeah, that's the big thing. They are coming with a head of steam, coming at 20 laps to go when they come across the line here. But if we're going to be seeing a yellow, it might be around the battle for 10th place, as those drivers are still on top of one another. As you see here, Rochelle, also that ascent check, getting by Loveland and Crawford. They were at one moment 4 wide on the front stretch, able to clean things up, and now straighten themselves out. But Tom, looking at where the drivers are at the moment, look at the difference. It's about a little bit under 4 seconds between that of Brian Johnson to Zach Hall. That's the true gap that we keep our eyes on.
Yeah, and that gap is closing. It's now down to a second between Zach Hall and Vincent Sora. And Sora hasn't been able to put a gap, cut into the gap as much as he wants to on Brian Johnson. He's cut it down to 2.3 seconds, and it constantly is closing. But Zach Hall's cut it down to underneath a second. And I honestly can't tell you what's going to happen.
Eric Kralik now going into pit road, leaving Maurice Gomillion is still out hoping for a yellow to fly. But has not done so just yet, as the 44 is very slow. I think he's indicating he's probably going to have to come into pit road as 44 is in the 20 following suit, which is going to be giving the lead back to the 28 of Brian Johnson. As he comes out of turn number 4, you also see the back bumper cam as we are riding along with the 15 of Vincent Sora, moving up to second. Zach Hall in third. Top 3 are your championship, or part of your championship 4 that are battling their goal. Just be the driver leading at the end of the day. And for that of Brian Johnson and Zach Hall, Tom, I'm looking at the difference. Zach Hall needs to close in this gap. He's got himself about 8 laps before he gets about 20 laps into this run, and when the tires really truly plateau. So he's got 8 laps to try to run down a little bit more than a little bit less than 2.5 seconds. That is going to be a tall task for the 32 machine.
It definitely is a tall task, but you know what? Out of these top 3, Brian Johnson does have the worst set of tires. Not by much, but it does show after a while. Two guys I've been watching, they were the second to last group to come to pit road, and that's Tom Senchek and Kyle Rochelle. They are closing on these guys very quickly.
Oh, well, let's just go 3 wide, why don't we? As Vincent Sora trying to get out of the way. Same for James Trammell, giving us a scare on the front stretch. And there goes Zach Hall. Going to be trying to clear Vincent Sora. They need to make this pass clean. And there it is. 32 able to get by the 15. Now Cedric Hunter needs to follow in line. But you're right. Kyle Rochelle, Tom Senchek, they stayed out an extra just 2 more laps from that of Cedric Hunter and Zach Hall. Those 2 laps are just enough for them to be gaining. And they're closing in on that difference. And honestly, by the time that Zach Hall catches up to Brian Johnson and Cedric Hunter, Kyle Rochelle and Tom Senchek might come in, and this could turn into a 5-horse race or even a 6-horse race if Vincent Sora can stay attached with these drivers.
Yeah, and you see the 13 trying to make the pass on the 15. This is not going to help Zach Hall with the draft as Sora tries to cut off Cedric Hunter right there. Wasn't able to, and Hunter will make the pass on Vincent Sora. That's exactly what Zach Hall wanted to see. But if Vincent Sora can try and get underneath him, you know, ultimately that's going to hurt Zach. if he doesn't have the 13 car pushing him up to the 28.
Well, it's on the line. Also, James Tremmel came into pit road, took another set of tires for the 20, so he's just going to be looming here, and this has got to be frustrating for the 15 of Vincent Sora, knowing that there's a lap car that's just pressuring him, and there goes Cedric Hunter, Zach Hall. They are able to now pull away from Vincent Sora. Sora tried his best to stay attached to the hip, not able to anymore. Tom, it's now on. 13 laps to go. Who's going to get the championship? Brian Johnson by 1.2 seconds leading now over Zach Hall. He's hoping to win the race, but you can see the differential. It is now anywhere from 0.2 to 0.3 between Zach Hall and Brian Johnson. If you do the math, Zach Hall will catch up just in the nick of time when we get to that of 3 laps to go.
Yeah, but you know what? Catching him is one thing, passing him is another. I've raced with Brian Johnson before. He is tough to pass, especially at the end of the races. And you know what, Sam? Cedric Hunter and Zach Hall are kind of towing Vincent Sora along. He's been able to stick with him right here. And I don't think, I'm honestly not sure if he's able to stick with him for a long time, but he's doing a great job keeping himself in this fight right now.
Oh, and don't look now as well. You see the ticker. It's closing in. Thompson, Chicago, Rochelle. They're also now getting the tow of that Zach Hall and Cedric Hunter. This is just becoming a train. And what once was looking like maybe just a mad dash between 3 drivers, it might grow into a group of 7 or 8, adding in the lap car James Tremmel into this mix. Brian Johnson, though, the gap a second. And Tom, you noted on it, once you get within a second, you start to get that draft pull and that tow. Zach Hall is just on the cusp of getting that help.
Yeah, Zach Hall, if he can cut it down, which he does underneath a second right here, he's going to be able to get that run down the straightaway. And if Cedric Hunter will push him down the straightaway, that's going to help him even more. As we have 10 laps to go here in the season, it's going to shape up for a great finish right here. I can't even tell you what's going to happen. Anything can happen right now.
I mean, all 3 of our picks are still up here racing. Brian Johnson up front leading this thing. Zach Hall in second. Vincent Sora going to be in 4th. Nick Crawford has climbed back to 7th place, but too far back. Needs a yellow if he wants to get back into the mix for racing for a championship. 9 laps to go here for Season 4 of the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series on who's going to get a championship. The final 4, all of them have never won a championship before. It's going to be up front. Brian Johnson, he's won the most races last season in his rookie season for this series, and as well this season. He has been the most dominating driver. Didn't get the championship last season when he felt like he should have gotten it. This go around, he feels like this is the season to get it done, but he's got to be careful. He went with the strategy call of pitting earlier than everyone else. 8 laps to go, and the difference now coming up to a half a second. Zach Hall, Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, they are there, and Thompson checking that of Pal Rochelle. They're only a second and a half back as well.
Yeah, Sam, they are, like you said, they are there. All right, but now it's getting down to the point where they're going to start getting aggressive. Brian Johnson, I wouldn't be surprised if he blocks Zach Hall. They can get into it, or Cedric Hunter could try and do something right here. And I think Vincent Sora is sitting in the right spot right now. He's held the tail end of the 32 and the 13's draft. He's still in contention. And if something happens to these front 2, remember, Vincent Sora, he can let the 13 win as long as he's in front of that 28 and the 32.
I don't know, though, if we're ever going to see Cedric Hunter try to make the pass for the win unless it's the white flag, and he knows it's not going to be costing either one of the drivers a championship. But right now, it's Brian Johnson, the driver that has been the top of the class. You look at the stats sheet, he's first in wins, tied for first in top 5s, and also first in top 10s. He is Mr. Consistent and dominating. But the driver that was outside, Zach Hall, who's come second fiddle 5 times this season to Brian Johnson. He wants the championship. He wants his 3rd win of the season. 6 laps to go. Going into turn number 3. Here comes the 32, trying to go for the lead position.
Yeah, but Brian Johnson's got that preferred line to try and defend. If he's not going to be able to clear him off turn 4, Zach Hall's going to have the draft from his teammate, the 13, as they touch going down the front stretch, the 32 and the 13. That is Vincent jumps to the outside of the 13. That's the best thing that Brian Johnson wanted D, and Vincent Sora makes the pass. Our top 3 in points under a blanket. Sora dives it down to turn 3 on the outside of Zach Hall. It's about to go down as we got 4 laps remaining in the season, Sam.
It's on. It is all here. Teammates trying to help one another. When they're outside of this league, they're all part of one team, Category 5. But coming down to the end, there are technically 3 different branches. Zach Hall from Category 5. Brian Johnson's got to be careful. They're almost contacting out of the corner. Johnson holds on and not getting into the wall, but that was close. Almost seeing both drivers wipe each other out. Sora with the bump to the 28. They're still on top of one another, and this is really getting in the closing in. Here comes Kyle Rochelle as well as Tom Sinchek. Will they put their nose in this battle? That is Zach Hall. Vincent Sora. Will Sora force it 3 wide? He does it for a second. There's no space for him. Contacted is Zach Hall.
Oh, and my goodness, Tom Sinchek and Kyle Rochelle are here. Contact between the 32 and the 15. 15 in the wall. Big. Oh, they're wrecking on the back.
Oh, no, and there goes the more spinning around, and there's the yellow. 3 laps to go, and we're going to overtime.
Vincent Sora hard into the inside wall. Oh my goodness, Cedric Hunter took a lot of damage there. And wow.
And we are officially in overtime. Vincent Sora heavily damaged, and Tom, this is not good.
Sam, Cedric Hunter and Vincent Sora both have meatball flags. Vincent Sora's championship hopes are done.
Snuffed out in an instant. And you know that the team hauler is going to be very vocal after this one. Vincent Sora, who has been here since season 1, has been in the Final 4 almost every single year, and now finds himself for another season coming up shy here in the Final 4. It's not going to be a championship for Vincent Sora, but Brian Johnson, he's looking good. He's going to have a clean vehicle to work with. But pit road, Tom, this is when things get interesting. Who goes with 2 tires and who goes with 4?
Honestly, if I was Nick Crawford, I'd go with 2 tires. He's sitting 3rd right now in the standings. He's going to have as long as he doesn't wreck, he should have a guaranteed 3rd place finish in the point standings. You know what? I'd take 2. You came in pit road 5th. You got to get in front of that 28 and 32.
Oh, Zach Hall overshoots his pit box. He overshoots it again.
No.
He backs up back and forth, costing time.
He's got to take 2 here. He has to take 2.
There's no time. I mean, I don't think he's going to have enough time to switch it up. Crawford's going to go with all 4. Same goes for that of Zach Hall. Tom Sinchek going to be already taking off into the good. And just in a blink of an eye, Zach Hall went from running in 2nd place, falls all the way back to 7th. And Nick Crawford, who was back in 6th place, moves up to 3rd after those pit stops.
But you know what, Sam? Being in 7th at this track, it's not bad. Okay, you can definitely get back to the lead or even, into the top 3 by the race end. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another caution here. It's go time for everybody.
And for all these drivers, Vincent Sora, like we said, his championship hopes are gone. Coming into the night, he was tied 2nd in wins with 3. He was 3rd in top 5s with 10 top 5s and tied with 3rd in top 10s with 12. But up front, you see that of the 88 going to be taking a wave around and get back on the lead lap, giving us that of 15 drivers that are on the lead lap currently. We'll see how long that's going to be staying as Tom, our first attempt into overtime. We have 3 if needed, and this is how it's going to go down. We are going to go, when we go green, it's going to be 2 laps. If we get the white flag and come back with just 1 full circle and make it and get the white flag, we then race it to the end. Doesn't matter if anyone wrecks, it's about who crosses the line first. But if a yellow comes out before we get the white flag, we go into attempt 2. Again, in that second attempt, we don't get to the white flag and a yellow flag comes. We then go into attempt 3. And if we go into that 3rd attempt, the race could finish under yellow. We're hoping we don't get there. We want to see this thing race out green as Brian Johnson is leading our championship for Nick Crawford, who we thought was out of this. Needed a yellow to get into the mix and have a chance for a championship. He would needed to win, Tom, last week to even race for a championship. He is running in 3rd with an opportunity to win here tonight.
And what a Cinderella story it would be for Nick Crawford to get the championship tonight after, like you said, having to win his way into the Final Four. But don't look now. All right, there are some guys up here that I could play spoiler here. All right, you've got the 94 of Sean Huffstutler. He had speed all race long. A guy we haven't spoken about, the winner from 2 weeks ago, Danny Cochran, hit the wall early, got all of his damage repaired. He's going to restart 5th. And Thomas Walter, haven't seen him all night long. He started 11th, kind of mired in the back half of the top 10. He's up to 6th. This is going to get interesting. It's going to get fun. And honestly, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if we see another yellow.
No, wouldn't be surprised at all. Again, Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford, and Zach Hall. They are the championship 3 that are left. We came in with 4. Vincent Sora still in pit road with heavy damage and will not be able to get back out on track. So it's between these 3 drivers. All they need to do is just beat out the other 2 machines and they win a championship. They do not need to win the race to win the championship. It's all about, for the 28, the 11, and the 32, just beat the other one, finish ahead of them, and you get your Season 4 championship for yourself. As the drivers are getting stacked up and ready to go, it's Brian Johnson, Tom Sinchek, Nick Crawford, Sean Huffstutler, Danny Cochran going to be your top 5. Zach Hallmeyer back in 7th. He's got a lot of work to do, but our first attempt at overtime here for the NAISCC Cup Series Championship race, it's on as we are green. Brian Johnson on the loud pedal and Nick Crawford trying to stay close, and Brian Johnson not getting too far ahead here on this restart, keeping the 11 in his mirror.
That's a smart move by Brian Johnson. Kind of feathered the throttle a little bit as they got up to speed. Didn't let the 11 car really get a good run coming off turn 2 with the big gap. Crawford's got to make something happen here. I don't know if he's got the speed. Sinchek dives to the inside. White flag in the air, Sam. 1 lap to go.
It's your freaky fast white flag in the air. We only needed 1 attempt. This is it for the championship. Who's gonna get it? Will the 11 Nick Crawford find the extra speed? Brian Johnson coming through turn number 2. He's got a buffer. It's Tom Sinchek defending the 11, gets into the wall. Brian Johnson, he's trying to hold up, but here comes the run from Tom Sinchek to the outside. Trying to go for a win. It's the 8, but the 11, his final dash, going to the inside. It's not close enough for the win and the championship. Redemption. Brian Johnson wins a championship for Season 4 of the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series.
Wow. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. That's a great run for him.
I mean, he needed this. This was on his mind of wanting to the championship last season. Had 7 wins, Tom, and came up short to Cedric Hunter for Season 3. Season 4, he had to carry and worry about Vincent Sora, one of the hottest drivers here of recent. Nick Crawford, who was right there at the end, comes away 2nd. And then Zach Hall, who admired 2nd place 5 times this season, has a poor pit stop from 32. Not able to even try to go for a win here tonight. But it's Brian Johnson, who was 1st in wins, 1st in top 5s, and 1st in top 10s, who gets the championship for season number 4. Congratulations to Brian Johnson as he burns it down with Nick Crawford. We'll be back in just a few. We'll be talking to our top 3, Tom Sinchek, Nick Crawford, and your winner and champion, Brian Johnson. We'll be back in just a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show championship Saturday night for the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series. And what a championship race it was. All the storylines of highs and lows for all of our championship drivers. And we'll talk to our winner and champion here in just shortly. But first, we're going to start things off with third place runner, a driver that has won a championship in this series. Champ Tom Sinchak with us. He won Season 1 and Season 2. Tom, we saw you had a lot of speed. You had the opportunity to put your nose in some places to potentially go for a win. But how difficult was it not to put yourself in a championship ruining type of a moment?
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is take out one of the four. So I laid back for most of the race, saved a little bit of tires. We definitely felt like we had the pace to win it. And when that yellow came out at the end right there, of course we were going to try and go for it. But I mean, if it stayed green, we were going to wait and let everything shuffle out the way it did. Because like I said, you don't want to take one of the four out and be that guy. So we just kept our pace, and we love Chicago. So we're happy we got a third place here.
And Tom, you mentioned having pace. We saw that all night long. We saw you really ripping that high side. When did you find that speed up there? And did you think you had anything for those front four when they got side by side?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I saved. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like me and Kyle, we saved. He actually was getting mad at me because I was saving a little bit too much. And I was like, relax, Kyle. They'll come back to us. They'll come back to us. And eventually they did. And by the time they got back to us, I know we could rip that high line because we did a few practices in the trucks not too long ago. And the high line on 1 and 2 really, really works pretty well. So you could surprise somebody by hitting that outside and not letting them get back up in line, because the outside was definitely dominant on older tires.
It absolutely was. And Tom, coming away with third place finish, congratulations on that. But for Brian Johnson winning his first championship, you've won 2. How do you think he's feeling right now?
No, he's probably feeling fantastic. I know how it feels. I'm sure. I mean, he was in a little bit of trouble there at the end before that yellow came out, but he was really defending it. Really, I thought they were going to eat him alive, but once they got to him, it was really hard to pass him. He really knows how to run this track. He really knows how to run all the tracks, and I'm super happy for him. He did a great job. So congratulations to him and all the final four, actually. And it was a really fun race for me.
Well, Tom, for this season of Season 4, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Oh, yeah, we'll give out a shout-out to everybody. I mean, everybody that's in the league, everybody that the admins in the league, Cat 5, RS, Larson Line, Max Motorsports, all those guys. I'm not going to read them all, but they all did a great job. But especially give a shout-out to Brian for getting that W in that championship. I'm really happy for him.
As Tom Sinchak in the 8 machine from RS Racing, congratulations on a third place finish, and have a great offseason.
Thanks, man. I'll see you guys later.
And now we go to a driver that's probably feeling a little bit on the low end. Nick Crawford coming up shy, just 1 position away from a win in a championship. We now have Nick Crawford up in the booth. Nick, you were there. You had so many moments where you were up front. You fell back. I mean, the start of the race was terrifying for us up in the booth. We thought you were going to get swallowed alive by the drivers that were trying to just take your positions. And then you got hit, got the a little bit of wind knocking you around that pushed you back to 13th. Needed a yellow. You got the yellow. But there at the end, in that overtime attempt, what else could you have tried to do to potentially win the championship here tonight?
I guess I could have gotten fuel, or I could have wrecked Brian, but just the way with the draft works and not getting fuel, the car was really tight. I just wanted to make sure I got as many positions as I could on pit road since I was a little bit behind. But in the end, once I knew that Brian was going to get it, I was just going to make sure no one else could get to him. But yeah, just if I didn't get a bump there and I didn't go back to 13th, I think it would have been a little bit different of a story, especially since Zach and Brian both slid through their box. I could have probably come out first, but that's just sometimes how it works.
And Nick, we saw, like Sam said, we saw you fall back to 13th after that, getting out of shape in turn 1. Did you think the championship was over with the long green flag run we were having at currently when that happened, and the long green flag run we had at the end of stage 1?
I did. I thought this was going to be the one race where there wasn't a late race caution. I was hoping. I definitely was hoping, as you don't want anybody to wreck, but when you're racing for a championship and you're back in 13th, way behind, you kind of do want it to happen. But yeah, I gave up a little bit of hope there. I was just riding on the high line. Me and Sean were just racing back there for fun. But we got lucky. Got a caution when they got all racy in the front there.
I mean, Nick, just overall, congratulations. You were a part-time driver last season. We knew you had some speed. You come into this season, you win the Daytona race to start out season 4, and then you needed to win again last week to even have a chance, and you did that as well. Thought you had one more glimmer of magic late, but wasn't there. But still, congratulations on your season. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Oh, I just want to start with you guys. Of course, you do such a great job. I love going when I go to work at night, I just rewatch the entire broadcast. I've done the whole race, but you guys make it to where I can just watch the whole thing, even through the cautions, and that says a lot. But and then I want to thank Cat 5 in total. They're such great guys. They help you out even when they're competing against you. And then again, I want to go back to Brian. Brian is such a good person. I'm glad he won the championship. It's the best possible outcome besides me winning it. And then, of course, I want to always thank my beautiful wife here at home. She doesn't watch a lot of racing, but she supports me anyways. And whenever I do good, she always gives me a pat on the back. And if I do bad, she's like, better luck next time. So thank you guys.
Yeah, that's going to be Nick Crawford in the 11. Again, thanks for the praising on us. It helps when you guys put on amazing shows for us to be able to cover. That's Nick Crawford in the 11 machine for Mag 9, getting a second place finish here tonight. Congratulations on that, Nick, and have a great offseason for yourself.
Thank you, sir. You guys have one as well.
Well, we go from a low. You could tell that he wishes he had the win, but at least happy that he had an opportunity to now up to victory lane, and also to announce that he, after 7 races this season, 45 drivers attempt this. We were down to our final 4 here tonight. And with the win here tonight, he gets it done. 7 starts with tonight as well. His 6th win, 13 top 5s, 16 top 10s. Your champion and winner here tonight from the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series, Brian P. Johnson, is your season 4 champion. Congratulations, Brian. I know you wanted season 3 so bad after getting your so many 7 wins in total. You got only 6 this season, but you got the trophy at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, thanks, Sam. And that's what really counts is the championship. It's good to win races, but once the playoffs come, you only care about wins to get you through the next round to, eventually get to this race, and then got to win the race. And I ain't gonna lie, for most of the race, it wasn't looking too pretty. Zach and Cedric were bumper to bumper all night long, and when they're like that, and you got one guy that's going to do everything he can to help his teammate win. It's tough to pass, tough to get that done. And yeah, I mean, for the majority of the race, it wasn't looking good for me. I didn't think it would happen, and then just through a series of events, we lucked out on that one. But yeah, it's nice to finally get this. I do feel like last season kind of slipped away a little bit, so it feels really good to get this one.
And Brian, congrats again on getting the win and the championship. You led all the categories, wins, top 5s, top 10s, all for the majority of the season, and you really capped it off with a, I wouldn't say dominating, but right place, right time win tonight. Before that last caution came out, do you think you were able to hold off those 3, 4 hard chargers behind you? Or were you just kind of holding on for dear life, hoping that one of them would make a mistake?
Well, when they first got to me, it was definitely a case of holding on for dear life. There were a couple of corners where Zach almost cleared me, so that obviously wouldn't have been too great. But luckily, I had the help of Vinny there for a little bit, and he was able to push me. So once he started working with me, I felt a little bit better about it. But then the problem is okay, well, Vincent's helping me now, but as soon as that white flag drops, he's gonna quit helping me. So I'm out there with the oldest tires, and you still got Zach and Cedric working together. So the moment that Vincent quits helping me, then it's going to be over for me. So unfortunately for them, I hate to see them get wrecked, and an accident, a racing incident, kind of has something to do with who wins the championship. But it definitely worked in my favor, and somehow Nick found his way back up there, and we were able to battle it out the best we could, with green white checkered in these cars, and the way the draft works, it's pretty tough to try to get something done in 2 laps. But I know he definitely tried, but had the help of him for some of the race. He kind of got into it with Vincent there, and we were separated. So, and when that happened, I was like, oof. It's chances are looking pretty slim. But yeah, when they were catching me, I definitely was sweating bullets.
Certainly was a terrifying moment. We weren't sure if you were going to be able to hold off for those drivers. We heard even from that of Tom Sinchek how impressed he was in the fact that you were able to hold on the best that you did. But coming out of turn 4 on that last lap, knowing that you were going to win the championship, how was that feeling? Just knowing that it finally happened after last season and now this season have the most wins and finally be able to say that you're a champion.
Oh, I mean, it definitely felt really great. It's kind of getting the monkey off of the back situation with after what happened with season 3, being right there the whole time, but not being able to get it done. So, the roles were a little bit reversed tonight for a portion of it, and it was definitely good to be on the other side of that. And just getting that checkered flag is just a giant feeling of relief and satisfaction as well. Because when you put together seasons like I had last season and this season, you definitely, anything short of a championship is a disappointment. So it's good to get it, and we'll see what happens from here.
Well, we are excited for what happens next, Brian. But for tonight, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Well, I definitely got to thank Nick Crawford tonight. We were gonna try to help each other the best we could, but when it came down to it, we were gonna race um, however we had to. And just gotta thank him for being my teammate this season. We're longtime friends, so it was good to share this time with him. And then just gotta thank all the teammates at Category 5. We while did have to race pretty hard tonight with each other, that makes us all better at the end of the day. So I gotta thank them, and then you guys, of course, for putting on a great show as always. While I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for this interview, I was looking back through it, and it looks fantastic as always. And anybody that tuned in, thank them as well. And that's pretty much it.
That is going to be your winner tonight, and as well, your champion of Season 4 for the NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series. It is Brian Johnson in the 28 Magnitude 9 machine getting your championship here tonight. Congratulations, Brian, and have a good one celebrating this championship and win.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Tom, it took us 17 races to crown a champion, and I gotta say, it certainly, this race did not disappoint. We had a long green flag run where strategies were coming together, and then ultimately, playoff and championship drivers make contact once more, and we find bringing out a late yellow that throws the mix out there of Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford. It was a duel between themselves. It was Brian Johnson surviving at the end as our finishing result, our unofficial results pop up. What are some of your final thoughts here?
You can't take anything away from any of these guys, whether they were in the contention for the championship or not. I feel for Vincent Sora. I've been in that situation before. I feel for Zach Hall. I was telling Robert, our producer, during the break, I've lost championships on pit road before, not of my doing or of my doing. Ultimately, it sucks I only came in for the last 3 races of the season. It seemed like a great season. I know the last 3 were amazing. But ultimately, like I said, you can't take anything away from these drivers. They put everything on the line week in and week out, trying to go out there and get the job done. And you know what? The best guy all season long, he got the championship. And honestly, in my opinion, that's how it should be.
Yeah, it really should, and that's what the way that this playoff picture came in. Again, we had 12 regular season races going into a 5-race playoff system, where we went from 16 in the first 2 races of the playoffs, cut it down to 8. The next 2 races then got us to our final 4, where Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, Nick Crawford, and Zach Hall battled it out. And getting the lead and the win was Brian Johnson, dwindling it down to the 28. Nick Crawford comes away with second, Tom Sinjek in third with Thomas Walter, Sean Hutstetler, Danny Cochran, as well as Zach Hall coming away with 7th. Eric Kralik, Maurice Gilmillion, and that of Martin Morales able to finish out your top 10. But you can tell all the way down to 15th, down to 16th, is Vincent Sora that was hoping for a better day for that 15 machine. And now, Tom, the season comes to a close. It's crazy to think the season is over. I know you were only here for 3 races. You got 2 out of the 3 winners, right, for this season. That's a pretty good ratio to keep. We'll see how next season, season 5, brings for these drivers as Brian Johnson gets the win. But again, Tom, I know you were only here for 3 races, but for those 3 races, what were some of your thoughts of this season?
Just hard, clean racing, throughout. I know Talladega is kind of, an iffy one. It's more of a draft thing, but, we saw it in New Hampshire, constant hard racing, different strategies, and same thing here tonight. Honestly, that's going to carry over to season 5. I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys take it up a notch even, hone their craft going, into the off season. But Sam, I know a lot of these guys are running the truck series coming up on Monday nights, starting this Monday.
Yeah, this Monday, I'm excited for it. And as we're talking about Monday, we can also take a look at the schedule that's coming up for these drivers, as we've got ourselves a full field of racing coming on, Tom, and it starts tomorrow night. The MPI Cup Series goes to Auto Club for their 2nd race of the season to see who's going to be able to come away with the win there. Then Monday night, like you were talking about, you'll be out there racing. It's going to be that of the NAISCC Truck Series. That's right, the Cup Series is done, but there's more racing action from these drivers. Monday night Truck Series at Daytona. Then Wednesday, we go for that of the Nashville Super Speedway with the Underdog Racing League to see who's going to be finding a little bit of an edge as they're getting to the middle of their season and coming to the closing to the end of the regular season. Thursday night, Darlington, throwback night for some of these drivers for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. Excited to see what schemes the drivers are going to be bringing out. And now after tonight, the off season is on, but season 5 right around the corner. March 26th is when season 5 continues. But until then, a new crown has been placed. Brian Johnson in the 28 machine becomes the 3rd driver to become a champion in the NAISCC Cup Series. Who could be the 4th, or will we see a repeat champion? Only season 5 can give us. But for tonight, thank you, Tom, for joining me for the last 3 races of the season. Thank you for Robert, who always is running productions. For myself, Sam Dyer. Thank you to all those that watched tonight. Championship Saturday was incredible, amazing, and it's Brian P. Johnson, your Season 4 NAISCC Track Racer Cup Series champion. Congratulations to Brian, and we'll see you tomorrow night for MPI Cup Series at Auto Club.